can rotate them through circuits or set up stations. You need to be very good at offering on-the-spot regressions with minimal instruction. So you need to be able to say what you mean and mean what you say. Your cues need to be quick, economical, and precise. This will take practice also. Newbies, or people who are new to a program. First of all, no one wants to be labeled the back of the pack, or a new person, or a lower fitness level. So you want to use words and give options to people using terminology like, here's an alternative, here's a regression, here's something you can do if you want a little bit more. Or you can assign groups and levels without your clients or your classes knowing it. Time management is really important too. If you set up stations or circuits, they can get out of hand really quickly if the participants do not flow quickly from one station to the next, or they don't understand what your expectations are. So you need to think ahead and pre-plan the setup. Quickly tell students what you want to have happen, set the expectation, and that way they can anticipate what they need to do next without a lot of delay in between. Do not tell them each and every movement or take more than 60 seconds when you use this technique. You'll lose them. Make sure you use filler exercises in order to keep them moving while you're trying to explain the next movement. And if you can use the same piece of equipment for 2 or 3 exercises, that'll really help you stay on task with respect to intensity and keeping people going. Again, you need to be a multitasker just like an athlete with eyes on the back of your head, or a parent. In order to keep the group under control, you need to make sure everybody understands that you are the leader. A confused group leader equals a disaster. Use a stopwatch, but don't stare at your stopwatch. Get one that beeps, or you can purchase music that has bells or other signals in it. And you want to follow the ACSM ratios when you're doing programming. For example, a ratio of 1-to-1 could be, I'm going to have all my clients in my small group perform exercises for 30 seconds, and then I'm going to give them 30 seconds of recovery. A 2-to-1 ratio would be, I'm going to have all my clients do this exercise for 30 seconds, and they're going to get 15 seconds of recovery. And then a 3-to-1 ratio would be having the clients do the exercise for 30 seconds and giving them a 10-second recovery. Obviously, the shorter recovery periods are going to be appropriate for fitter people. You can always flip the work-rest ratios to meet your clients' needs, so don't feel like you always have to give longer periods of work and shorter periods of rest. You can flip those around. Communication and cueing. You don't have to scream and yell or be a boisterous cheerleader, but you do have to command the group. So you want to make sure you address your chatty Cathys. These are the people that come to the class and have sidebar conversations when you're trying to stay in control. You're going to need to address that. I would recommend you use the triple threat cueing technique. That includes this. 1, the first thing that you do is you tell the whole group your expectation. I want everybody to be quiet. 2, the person that's talking is still not stop talking. Walk over to him or her and say, I need you to focus on what we're doing right now. 3, you can go over and put hands on in an appropriate way, getting that person into the right exercise. Some people are slow and a little bit confused, and they may appear helpless. Absolutely give them the help that they need, but don't over-cue them or give them too much attention. You also have people that are totally kinesthetically unaware. They can be a little bit challenging. Just encourage them and let them do the best they can. You also have your overachievers, and these are people, when you give progression 1 for an exercise, want to take it to progression 21 right off the bat. You're going to need to figure out ways to regress these people because they are the ones who have higher risks for injuries because they're always doing above and beyond what they need to be doing in order to establish foundational fitness or baseline levels. Some of your clients or individuals who come to small group also might want to run the show or do their own thing. And it's required that you communicate to the entire group, so learn how to say things in many different ways so that everybody stays on the same page. Remember, you need to learn the invaluable skill of teaching and cueing and exercise without actually doing it yourself. So you need to learn how to teach verbally without having to do a visual cue. Many people, particularly your more advanced people, are going to pick on this very easily. They'll pick it right up and they'll be able to follow along. People who are a little bit more of a beginner or newer to fitness might struggle with this, but eventually they're going to get it too. Remember, you want to learn the ropes, so you're going to start small. I would keep my groups to 2 to 3 max until you feel confident, and then you can try an all-out in the park boot camp with 10 or 12 people. Team teach with another small group trainer and do the warm-up or a few exercises if you're just learning how to do small group training. This way you can ease into the program and not be in a situation where you're overwhelmed with a class that you've got to accomplish and successfully execute without the skill set to do that. Also, you can lend a hand. So it's a really good idea to volunteer or ask to assist an established trainer if the other trainer needs the help if they have a large group. Also, you got to speak up. If you are not comfortable speaking in front of large groups, this probably is not going to be the best route for you. So if you're not really into standing up and really commanding attention, maybe small group training isn't your thing and one-on-one is going to be better. And then join in, sign up for a class and be a participant. Find out what it takes as a participant's perspective to be a good instructor. You're going to learn a lot by being in the person's shoes that's actually taking your classes. So with respect to how much to charge and how long the session should be, you want to consider the environment and the community that you're in, the club that you work at, the experience level of you as a trainer or an instructor. Anywhere from $7 to $25 a class might be reasonable. In some communities, as much as $75 a class. It just depends on what you're teaching and again, how experienced you are at that format. Here's a low estimate for creating a cost. Let's say you're providing 4 weeks of classes twice a week, so that's 8 total classes for $10 a class. You have 3 people who are coming to those classes, you're going to make $240. Now, if you have to share that with a club or another trainer, you're going to want to consider that as well. So make sure that you do your math and your homework before you start your programming so that you can alleviate any stress or headaches with respect to cost and what you should be being paid. The amount of time, I would recommend anywhere between 30 to 45 minutes up to 60 minutes, and it depends on the goals of your clients. If you're working with beginners or people with initial weight loss goals or older clients or obese children or adults, I would stick with the lower time frames because their fitness level is not going to allow them to do exercise for long periods of time. As people get more advanced, you're going to be able to go for longer periods, but I would not recommend more than 60 minutes if you're offering a general fitness class. Maybe if you're doing specific training for athletes, but that's a different topic. Ways in which you can set up your small group. What you're going to see today are basically circuits, and I'm using equipment-based stations at each one of these circuits. A circuit refers to a time-based format, which is really good because it allows people at their own fitness level and experience to move at the rep speed that's appropriate for them. So I really like using circuits, but again, if you're going to use a circuit, use a stopwatch. It's very important that you're honest about the time. Use your ACSM ratios to make sure that you're physiologically appropriate with the amount of time that people are working and that they're recovering, and be consistent with your ratios and your intervals. Stations would be places around the room or in a club setting, in the group fitness studio, where you've got certain pieces of equipment all set up and people can either move from one station to the next, or they can move through stations in any configuration you want to create. You can use BOSUs, you can use the PlyoFit that I'm using today, you can use the trampoline. We brought in tubing. We're using the medicine ball that comes with the PlyoFit adapter, and we also brought in other medicine balls as well. But you can get really creative, and also body weight is a wonderful load that you can apply. Make sure that people are working at the pace and level that's appropriate for their current fitness, and that you are always regressing the activities to meet their needs. Keep in mind precision of movement. People should be moving as good or as well as they can. Always consider variety. You want a lot of different activities, but make sure those activities make sense. Don't do variety just for the sake of variety. Make sure that you have an outcome goal. And also regressions and progressions. Try not to, although sometimes I know this can be challenging, try not to allow people to progress to the next level unless they've shown you and demonstrated that they've mastered progression 1 before going to progression 2 and 3, etc. And if you take all these things into consideration, I think you're going to find you're going to have a very successful small group training program, which is going to lend itself to more time for you as a trainer, more income for you, higher satisfaction levels for your clients because they're going to be paying a little bit less and they're still going to be getting a lot. And I'm going to show you in the workout that we're about to try how you can use the trampoline and the PlyoFit adapter, also the trampoline using the bar to create really fun and interesting workouts for your clients.